for the Kenai. Kobryn and I are back at the Serenity Intake office today, recording another community resource today, which we're very excited about. As some of you may recall, Eric sat down with Jen Waller from Freedom House probably close to a year ago, and we're super excited. We're a little bit behind the ball. Their men's house opened March 24th. And today we're here with Paul, who's the house manager of the men's house. How's it going, Paul?
Blessed by the best. Yes. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to extend what's going on in Freedom House, man.
Mm-hmm.
To update you guys.
Nice.
So I guess I just need to start talking, huh?
Yeah, no, we'll start. Yeah, we'll start with a little bit about you. So,
All right. So, I am a recovering addict. 2010 was the peak of my addiction, and I was in Anchorage that time. Went to jail, got out, and I went to join New Life Discipleship Program at Rescue Mission. Finished that rehab program for 2 years, and after that, I worked for the mission, for the ministry, for a good amount of time. Mm-hmm. Then I resigned. So I was in Texas for a year, 2018, and I'm part of Acts 247 Recovery Church.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends, the pastor of Acts, called me and said that they're planting a church here in Soldotna. And he needed me because I'm in a worship ministry,
Mm-hmm.
lead worship. And he asked me if I can move over here, but I need a job to do that.
Right.
So, praise the Lord, God opened that door, which is the Freedom House.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the job. I got a phone interview with Jen Waller and Dennis Merkis. And I arrived here this year. I think, yeah, it's 6 months now.
Nice. And so you're originally from Anchorage?
Texas.
From Texas?
Yes.
You moved up here. Nice. That's pretty cool. So it all kind of came together right there. So what, this first, 6 months, what has the process been like just for you, kind of seeing this all come together from, the first opening to now?
It's very, very interesting because Freedom House is a non-profit organization,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't take any help from the government. So it's basically just run with donations. So if nobody donates, then we don't function.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so amazed at what God is doing in Freedom House Men.
Mm-hmm.
Not only He's restoring lives, but He's showing the world that if you go up to Him, if you seek Him with all your heart, that you will find Him. So, for example, we have 8 residents right now,
Mm-hmm.
total, and we have one more bed opening. So I'm just going to tell you guys what's God been doing in Freedom House, man. I'm going to start with Jerry. Jerry, he just got out of Wildwood, and he's been in prison for many, many years. I'm not gonna be specific on that one.
Mm-hmm.
The first day he was there, when he got out of jail, prison, he was very anxious. He doesn't know what to do, and it was just. And I went up to him. I'm like, "What is wrong, bro?" He's like, I just got out of prison. I don't really know what to do next. I don't know what's gonna happen to me." And he don't really have much relationship with God. So we start praying. I started praying for him, give him peace, give him joy, just trust God. A few months later, he got a job. Okay? He's an ankle monitor. So God gave him a job that really works for him because his own boss picks him up
Mm-hmm.
to go work for him. I mean, how can you find a job like that?
Yeah.
Right? Only God will open doors like that, right? So he's very, very thankful to God with that. And until now, he's still with that company, doing really well. He just got off ankle monitor. Okay. Got a good job. He got a car. He got his driver license back. Everything. God is just restoring everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And then I have another guy. His name is Jonathan. He was homeless. You know. He went to a Freedom House seeking help. And this guy, he just gave it all. He was focused. He's just trusting God. After a few months, he's in his 7th month now. He has a job in the slope, a really, really good paying job. He has just restored his family.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had good relationship now with his dad. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
God restored everything. Right? This is what God's doing in men's house.
Mm-hmm.
We got another one, Mario. This guy used to live in a dumpster. Okay? His addiction is so bad that nobody wants to be around him anymore. Okay? And then this happened in Portland. I remember him saying, "You won't believe how bad it was, bro. Because when I went to Alaska, I was in an airplane. Puke all over me. Nobody even wants to sit beside me because I stink. But because of my determination, I really want change. He had to fly. That's his last chance, you know. His sister flew him over here. And now God restored everything. He got a job in Slope, doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the 3rd guy. And you would think that it would be impossible for people like us that are in addiction, in recovery, to regain that life that once we have lost.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm going to keep going. Who's my next guy? Billy. So, Freedom House house people that just got out incarceration, just got out rehab, and homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
Billy just got out of Wildwood, and he got out on an ankle monitor. And his ankle monitor costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So they have to pay like a bunch of money. And he owes prison when he got out. And I think he was in Freedom for 2 weeks. And then he has to pay this amount of money, otherwise he'll go back to prison. But that same day, God provided money for him. I don't know where.
Wow.
So now he was able to stay in Freedom House. And now he got a job. He got an ankle monitor. He is free. God restored his family. He's, and God is just good, man. And the Bible says in Galatians, 1 John chapter 5, verse 5, it says, "Who is it that overcomes the world? Only he that believes that Jesus is the Son of God." When I was in my addiction, and I was hopeless. I was lost. I didn't find no purpose. Even though I make money, I used to work in a pharmacy before. My life is meaningless. And then when I found Jesus, I found hope. I found peace that surpasses all understanding. That for me right now, nothing makes sense to me if God is not in the picture. Like, God has been good, man. And Freedom House, what Jennifer Waller has started, it's really helping the community.
Mm-hmm.
Not only they're restoring, helping them to recover from their addiction, it's restoring their faith to God. that there is God out there that cares, that loves us, that listens to our prayers, that is in control, and that is great. So going forward to the people, the residents that are side over there. I got these two new guys, Mike and Clay. They're just so on fire for God. If you guys got time, if you guys want to visit Freedom House, man, it's almost like a church.
Mm-hmm.
But God, I'm just amazed how God works sometimes. He's omnipresent, but at the same time he is private. Like he has a different relationship, you or me, but he's omnipresent. So
what does the process look like? I mean, it's incredible the stories that you told about these guys who have basically been hopeless.
Yes.
I mean, living in a dumpster is about as low as you can get. That's rough. But then to still make it back to hope and still get restoration. What does the program look like? How did you guys at the Men's Freedom House encourage them or maybe challenge them even to get that restoration?
it's really hard to describe. But I think that the willingness to see what God has for them give them the motivation to remain and to finish the program. God draws those people to Freedom House, and I am surprised, man. We have housing fee, $250 housing fee. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is that $250 like a month?
Yes, a month.
Like a rent? Okay.
Not a rent, but a housing fee.
Housing fee.
So it covers just electricity and just the basic things in order for the ministries to run.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, if they don't have their housing fee for the first month, that don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You still take them as long as they're willing to change and just be closer to God.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom House is, it's open for that. You would think that they will leave the next month because they have a housing fee,
Mm-hmm.
But God opened those doors, and to tell you what, man, all of them are up in their fee. All of them are paid.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when they come to Freedom House, they have nothing. They don't have a job. They don't have any money. But God is so good that He provided all these things for them.
Wow.
Just giving them a sense of responsibility, sense of integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't make much, but I want to live my life right with God.
Mm-hmm.
So, to answer your question, what makes them stay? I think it's because they know and they believe that God is in Freedom House, and God is redirecting their life to a straight path, and God is just doing miracles in their life, so they choose to stay.
Yeah. What do you have a program that you use specifically, or is it really individual? It just kind of depends on the person.
Oh, we have mandatory classes like Monday and Fridays. That's their devotions. So it's only 30-minute devotion. That's mandatory. They have to meet with their freedom friend once a week. They have to go to church once a week. And then on Tuesdays, we have public chapels. And for the regular Tuesdays, we have a house meeting. And then we assign one of the residents to cook for that day. They're scheduled every week.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a chapel after that.
So if someone doesn't have a relationship with God yet, but they're willing to attend the services
Yes.
and stuff, do you still accept them, or is it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we accept them as long as they're willing to follow the rules
Okay.
that Freedom House already implemented.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is a Sober. You have to be sober first of all, right?
Of course, yeah. We
Yeah.
have random UAs,
Mhm.
alcohol breathalyzers,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff.
So what are some of the other, just for someone who's listening and is interested in the services that Freedom House provides, what are some of those other things? UAs, breathalyzers, just like basic house rules, or like.
We have curfews,
Mhm.
so you cannot leave the property until 6 a.m. unless you have a pass.
Right.
And then for phase 1 people, their curfew is 9, phase 2, 10 p.m., phase 3, we have 3 phases,
Mhm.
10:30.
Right. So what are those phases kind of consist of? Like what's yeah, I guess that's my question. I was trying to think of a better way to say it. Yeah,
Oh,
I was trying to
man.
think of a better way to clarify, but I just don't have one, so we're just
Yeah,
gonna
me too, man.
we're gonna grip it and rip it here.
So, all right, so it's making me all tense over here. I'm running out of words, man.
Just let it flow. There's no tension.
Just want you guys to know English is not my first language, so.
Mhm.
You're doing great.
Oh, you're doing it's great.
Yeah,
man.
I've had 100% comprehension. Like, I haven't been like, what is he going on about? Nope, never, dude.
So we have discipleship too, which is very, very we high importance.
Mhm.
So we have a pastor. His name is Derek. He's the one that's the discipleship with the women and with the men, and they meet up with him once a week, something like that.
Right.
And then we have Freedom Friends. I think I already mentioned that.
Mhm. So what's a freedom friend?
A Freedom Friend is like a coach,
Mhm.
a spiritual coach, which is approved, needs to be approved by Freedom House.
Oh, so these are people like.
Kind of like a mentor.
Like a
Yeah.
mentor.
So where I'm going is like if somebody was in house, like they come to you and be like, I want this person as my freedom friend. You meet with this person. It could just be anybody from their life.
Oh no! It needs,
so like
there's an application process,
Mhm.
and there's reference from pastors. He's a good person, can be a good mentor.
Oh, okay.
So it needs to be pre-approved by Freedom House
Mhm.
first.
So so if there's somebody listening out there that would like be interested in becoming a mentor or a freedom friend, like what all does that application process entail?
Oh, all you gotta do is just call the office. Go
Mhm.
go online, freedomhouse907.com. Just call that number, and ask for a Freedom Friend application.
Mhm. Cool.
What are the qualifications to get into the Freedom House? For people who are out there considering this, is there specific?
To be a resident?
Yeah. Just basic entry. What does that look like?
We accept everybody.
Yeah.
But the thing about that is there's an interview.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as long they are willing to change, then Freedom House will help them.
And that's a good place to put it, because you have to be, if someone isn't willing to change, there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
So I think that's the right place to have that. The entry is, are you willing to work on yourself? Because it sounds like you guys are very willing to help them with that.
We'll help them all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will have some people that we're not able to accommodate because of, like, for example, if they are mentally disabled, then we redirect them to the right place.
Right.
Okay. So if you're not the resource for them,
Yeah.
Like
you
a
still
referral
can.
process. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But most of our residents came from Wildwood.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge for anybody who's just coming out of incarceration. Is like, what do I do next? Because I think from what we've heard, the majority of people that come out, the first place they go is right back to what got them there. Yeah,
Right.
like, because they don't have anywhere to go. Like, they don't have a safe space. You know what I mean? They're back to whoever's house, whoever they were staying with before, because they got to have a place to sleep, or they're back to being homeless, like, kind of destitute right off the bat, you know what I mean? So, like, having a place to go that's safe first of all, and that's going to support your recovery is huge, incredibly important. I think Freedom House is a pretty cool place.
We do pretty good about that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like we try to build relationships. It's people that just got out of incarceration, you know. They I think most of them lost the sense of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
And if they want to start a new life, and to be surrounded with good people, I would say Freedom House would be good for them.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to jump back to a little more like the Freedom House program itself. So like what is, when you move from phase 1 to phase 2,
Mm-hmm.
right? 'Cause so far it's a 3-phase program, right? Faith-based. There's some rules and stipulations you have to follow. It's a sober living house. So like, is there certain things that like you have to accomplish before you get to phase 2, or like do you guys as like house manager and
No.
so on kind of decide who goes to phase 2, or what does that look like? The transition from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3, really.
There's no really requirements to meet to face up.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say the first 30 days is phase 1.
Oh, okay.
So after that, it goes to phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
So the next 6 months, then that's when you face up again. Which is
Oh,
phase
okay. So it's time based.
3. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we cannot call ourselves a rehab program. You know, it's not like a rehab that there's requirements to meet before you face up. So
Right.
you can graduate the program.
Mm-hmm.
We are not a rehab program, but we are not also like a apartment complex that you just pay.
Right.
Right.
So we're just like in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't. We try to live we try to just guide them to the right path, but we don't like force it to them.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Do you guys teach life skills there as well? Or do you direct them to resources that can accomplish that?
Right now, we direct them to the resources. Like, we are associated with this ministry called ABC, Life Express.
Mm-hmm.
So they offer a lot of class, like anger management,
Okay.
family parenting, financial,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that.
Okay.
Which our guys will be taking on pretty soon in financial class this December.
Nice.
Cool.
That's super cool. And so, like, do you guys help them enroll in these classes and
Yes.
like kind of make it more accessible than it would be?
Mm-hmm.
That's super cool. That's
So
huge.
another common barrier, to designing a life that it really is worth living is transportation. How do you guys address that? Do you give rides maybe to like interviews or?
We give rights to interviews, and also we pay for their cards. I don't know how does that work, but they make an account with cards, and then we pay whatever.
Mm-hmm. So you really do step into the transportation and housing position more or less to really give these guys
If they
complete
have
care.
to go see court, probation, job interview, I will give them a ride.
Right.
That's even I'll go out of my way to just, of course, we're there to better their lives, to help them to better their lives.
Yeah.
So, I think I just do it personally.
Right.
But with the Freedom House thing, we use cards
Mm-hmm.
just in case I'm not available to give them rides.
Right.
Okay.
But you do definitely your best to accommodate the transportation need. Yeah, I think because carts is pretty much the go-to for a lot of agencies around here.
Yeah.
Which, it was really what we got at this point, you know what I mean, until, like, we come up with a better solution or a more accessible solution. That's kind of really what you can do. But I think that's, for people in recovery especially fresh out of, like, incarceration or even sometimes out of treatment, like, you don't go into a transitional living, like, because you see that a lot, dude, like, all right, so I'm out of jail, and now they want me to attend this class, this thing, and this thing 3 times a week. I don't have a car. It's below freezing. I don't know where I'm going to sleep tonight, but let me make sure. I don't know what I'm going to eat next, but let me make sure and get to this class. Like, it's almost in ways unrealistic. for a lot of people. You know what I mean? And so I think like having a place that you can go to, and first of all, you're not concerned about your everyday needs. Like you get to eat, like you get to eat, you have a place to sleep, and you're probably gonna get a ride to wherever you need to go. It really makes it like just a lot easier to actually like accomplish these things. You know what I mean? And like actually tackle these like very hard to navigate situations. You know what I mean? That a lot of people face.
What's the name of the guy with the hierarchy of needs? Is it like, I want to say like Maslow or something, but
It might be.
I know
I
there.
don't know who you're talking about.
The basic structure for like psychology is that you have a pyramid, and at the bottom you have your most basic needs, like water.
Right.
And
Water,
then
food, shelter.
Yeah, so it keeps going up, and it sounds like at the Freedom House, once you can really take care of a good chunk of that pyramid, so then you can start focusing on the things that maybe you really are struggling with like maybe trauma in your past or different toxic traits that you want to change, but just providing a service that eliminates a situation where someone might, the only thing that's on their mind is like, where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to eat? How am I going to get more of the thing that makes me feel good? But once you eliminate those needs, I think you can really bring to the surface the psychological healing.
And yeah, that's like, and so I'm trying to think of exactly what I'm talking.
That was like the worst thing to piggyback off of. So
Oh no,
I
no,
set you up for nothing.
No. Like I knew where I wanted to go, and then I had to rethink it.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying this new thing out where like I think before I speak, and so
Right.
it seems to be going okay.
Dude, that's
so far.
crazy.
I know.
Who does
I know.
that?
Nerds.
This is America.
Yeah, nerds. But so do you guys, for the people that are in recovery that go through Freedom House, so like, do you set them up with meetings? And I know you guys like do your own devotion and discipleships in your own chapel, but if there was somebody that like wanted to get involved in like a 12-step program, like how do you guys help them navigate that, or you guys have your own program that you kind of facilitate?
No, they actually do it themselves. They
Mhm.
already know where to go.
Right.
But yeah, if they ask me where are the AA meetings in town, I would research it and give them the info,
Right. Yeah, and then they.
and they'll just go. Actually, they're pretty consistent about meeting up with the AA people.
Mhm. But yeah, it's cool.
Have you seen that kind of jumpstart in investment? I mean, I'm sure some of these guys have never had someone really invest in their lives and be like, hey, I really want you to succeed, but you're going to have to do it along this path. Have you seen kind of a takeover from you maybe pushing them a little bit to they're starting to really reach out on their own and pursue these resources and pursue what they need to overcome the struggle? Or maybe you kind of have to keep motivating them a little bit, but I don't know if it really takes off.
I didn't really have to push them.
Really? So ever since the beginning?
Yeah, they're just on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Like, I think it's because they already knew, most people that reside over there are from here, and they already know the resources in town.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is actually it's interesting that this isn't necessarily like let's see, how do I word this? This is what a great resource that there's these people who are already really seeking recovery, and one of the things that's missing from their picture of completeness is like housing and transportation.
It's a very important bridge.
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of the best way I can really put it. You know what I mean? Because like, I feel for like a lot of people in recovery. You know, like you said, like they don't have these basic needs to be met. But you kind of have to have these basic needs met to focus on your recovery. Otherwise, you're kind of just focused on surviving. That creates a lot of stress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think like a lot of the people, it sounds like, that are coming into Freedom House are ready to be in recovery and are ready to kind of give it all to God, right? And ready to kind of pursue this faith-based recovery process. but they don't necessarily have the means to do so. And in fact, like they don't have a place to live, sleep, or anywhere to eat. You know what I mean? So I think like Freedom House is seems to be a really good bridge to where you're going to get your basic needs met. You're going to get some really good leadership and discipleship to kind of help facilitate your recovery in this way. And we're not going to hold you back any. You know, like I think that's the really big thing is like you get a lot of things that like seem so like almost like you don't really think about. I can't even think of the word right now. Yeah, like you kind of take for granted. You know what I mean? That like it's just support, man. Like not just support, because like I don't want to frame it as like, oh, it's just support, but like because it's so important. You get support in your faith. You get support in your recovery. You get support in your everyday needs. You get a ride whenever you need it. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy how important, especially in Alaska in the wintertime, that getting a ride somewhere is. You know what I mean? Like it's and it's
That's good. I was just gonna say that every people needs a place to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't expect a seed to grow in an environment that there's no water,
right,
or it's just rocky and stony.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you guys were saying. If you can, they need these basic needs to be met. That way they can recollect themselves and think really hard what's their next goal or next move.
And for a lot of people to focus on that relationship, with your higher power. I mean, obviously you guys are a Christian-based organization, so the people that come through there, like, to focus on their relationship with God. It's like that's going to help a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like it's there, like it's part of the 12-step program. It's a part of these things for a very important reason, and like that to have people to help you facilitate that. Because I think just for like the average human being, like faith is like seems overwhelming at times. You know what I mean? But like to have someone like help facilitate that and kind of like really weed through, because I'm not gonna lie, guys, the Bible's kind of long. You know what I mean? Like to kind of help weed through that and like really like give it to you in a straightforward way that's gonna make your recovery work. You know what I mean? In a way that's really gonna like make it personal.
And I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about the Bible or different aspects like that. There's inherently a lot of difficult questions to answer, but to kind of take that hand in hand with the recovery and at least give them idea of what this is about, that maybe they don't want a relationship with God, maybe they have a different higher power, but at least they have an understanding. And I think that there's some key principles that even if you aren't a Christian, that are still universally good principles to have, like caring for others, service. That always surprised me of how much that really feeds you and feeds other people, especially in the recovery community, that going out and serving others. So I feel like there's a lot of principles that you could learn just from that, basically that kind of curriculum.
Yeah.
For me, what I believe is there's only two kinds of people in this world: the one that believes that Jesus is the Son of God, and the one that don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God. People that believes, they have different definition of what suffering is. And the people that don't believe, they have a different definition of what suffering is. For the people that don't believe in God, they find their peace in their whatever material or whatever temporary stuff they possess at this moment. The one that believes, they see peace, they find peace and contentment in just being with the Lord, in communion in His will. So for us recovered addicts, most of the time before God, I find comfort in chaos. But after God, with God, the Bible says, rejoice in your suffering. And it's weird, but we find peace through the midst of our trials and tribulations. Because, the world will give you trouble. And life. How do you say that? Life. What are you gonna say? I lost my thought.
Oh, you're good. It's the way that I see it is a sense of purpose
Yes.
Right.
is key. I mean, I remember reading. Hold on, I'm gonna remember it. Wow, Viktor Frankl. He wrote "Man's Search for Meaning." I remember reading "Man's Search for Meaning" by Viktor Frankl, and basically all the suffering that he went through, but he got through it because he had a purpose. He had a goal, which was to see his wife, basically. But just to understand that, and I remember talking to Dale, who we've recorded with before, that how you suffer will determine how you can function in life, like how you deal with that. There's always going to be suffering. There's always going to be difficult parts. No one has a completely easy life and is never lonely and never has stuff that they wrestle with. But to have a broad sense of purpose that gives it meaning, that it's not just pointless suffering, because pointless suffering sucks.
Right.
Knowing that you are, not only are you just in pain, but it doesn't do anything. But to be like, this is making me stronger in some way, or this is deepening my relationship with God. Just to get a profit out of it, kind of from a personal standpoint of kind of seeing the stress as a challenge instead of as something to be avoided, something to blank out of your life. Because I think that's pretty prevalent in our society. Is there's almost like this undertone of there's like this undertone that there's a possibility that you can get away with no suffering at all. Like that's just kind of the everyday. You look at social media, everyone's just kind of having a great time, or they're really angry. But that's beside the point. But yeah, it's acknowledging that there will be difficulty, but having a sense of purpose.
Yeah, I think it's very important to have a sense of purpose.
And I think like for anybody that's listening and considering the services that Freedom House Men's House offers, I think the guys there will do a really good job at helping you find out what that is, through your faith and through all you've been through, and kind of helping everybody figure that out, figuring out what the purpose is, what your purpose is, how you can best serve yourself and your community, and how really to help you kind of, for lack of a better thought in my head at the moment, be reborn.
It's a good starting ground.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if someone wanted to maybe get involved in the program, in whether it's like actually joining and being maybe a part of the men's house or a freedom friend or even actually getting in, how would they contact you, or who would they talk to?
They just have to go to our website, freedomhouse907.com, and it will give you all the information that they're gonna need. If they want to be a freedom friend, there's an application there. There's a number that they can call. If they're people that want to be our residents, then there's an application there for men and women.
Okay. Awesome. And we actually have, oh wait, never mind, I can't say that. Our website's not up yet, so.
No, it's
Cutting that out!
And also our policies and procedures are there so they can read through it, make sure that that's what they want.
right. Yeah.
So.
Definitely.
Awesome,
Paul. Thanks for coming in, man. We're super excited to have talked to you. This was fun.
Thanks, man.
Did you have fun?
Well, I was kind of nervous there,
Yeah.
But I hope I'm very informative and helpful to
Absolutely.
for the community.
Right. Yeah, and I think even for the community, just knowing that, because I think a lot of people in the community, especially people who may need the resource, kind of know that Freedom House exists, and at least that they have a women's house. You know what I mean? But I think letting the community know that there's a men's house available.
Yes.
You can access it, freedomhouse907.com. Just kind of letting people know it's out there, and letting them come to it, I think that's going to be cool, man.
And also we have a public chapel that we
Mhm.
do every first Tuesday of the month.
Cool.
And most of the time we do it in the women's side,
Mhm.
and that's available for everyone in the community. They want to join us in our chapel services and worship. So there'll be dinner and then chapel, worship,
Cool.
and sermon.
Awesome.
Nice. Good chance to get the community involved.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you very much. This was You and I for the Kenai.